One day, I was just randomly sitting in a cafe and I heard someone speak fluently in a language that the person started learning just 3 months ago. Meanwhile, I've been struggling with the same language for a year and can barely order coffee. Frustrating, right? Then I figured it out. The difference isn't talent or intelligence, it's their learning method. Let me ask you something. How many skills have you started learning but given up halfway? That online course you bought but never finished? That guitar gathering dust in your corner? That gym membership card slowly fading in your wallet? Trust me, I've been there too. 2 years ago, I was that person who'd get excited about learning something new, spend money on expensive equipment or courses, and then give up within weeks. But then something changed when I discovered the science of meta-learning, the art of learning how to learn. And here's what blows my mind. Research shows that the most successful people in any field, from musicians to entrepreneurs to athletes, all use these same principles, often without even realizing it. Today, I'm going to share exactly how I went from someone who couldn't stick to learning anything to someone who managed to master complex skills like drumming, coding, and public speaking in record time. But before we start, let me tell you why this matters more than ever. We're living in a world where the skills that are valuable today might become obsolete tomorrow. Think about it. 10 years ago, who would have thought being a TikTok creator could be a full-time career? Or that knowing AI prompting could land you a six-figure job? The ability to learn quickly isn't just about personal growth anymore. It's about survival in today's rapidly changing world. Now, let's understand what actually happens in your brain when you're learning something new. But instead of boring you with complex neuroscience terms, let me explain it through a story. Remember learning to ride a bike? At first, it felt impossible to balance, pedal, and look ahead all at the same time. Your brain was literally creating new neural pathways. Imagine creating a new path through a dense forest. The first few times were scary and probably resulted in some scratched knees, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Every time you practiced, you were walking down that same neural path, making it wider and clearer. It's exactly like how a barely visible trail in a forest becomes a clear path the more people walk on it. That's what neuroscientists call neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to create and strengthen these learning pathways. But wait, you might be thinking, if it's that simple, why do we forget things we learn? Well, this is where dopamine comes in. Let me share a personal story that perfectly illustrates this. Last year, I tried learning Spanish using a popular app. For the first week, I was super excited, completing multiple lessons daily. Then life got busy. I started missing days, and gradually, I forgot everything I learned. Sound familiar? Here's what was happening in my brain. Every night while we sleep, your brain acts like a strict librarian, going through everything you learned that day and deciding what to keep and what to delete. If something doesn't seem important or rewarding, your brain quite literally erases it from memory. It's like your brain is running a highly efficient storage system, constantly asking, will this information help us survive? There are 4 main stages of learning. Understanding these stages changed everything for me, and I'll explain them through my friend Mila's journey of learning to cook during the pandemic. Mila was in her kitchen, surrounded by ingredients, trying to follow a seemingly simple recipe for pasta. How can people do this so easily? She texted me, frustrated after burning her 3rd attempt. This is the stage where everything feels awkward and overwhelming. Your brain is creating those new neural pathways we talked about, and it requires a lot of energy and focus. Most people quit here because it feels like too much work for too little reward. Then came the day Mila successfully made her first proper meal, a simple spaghetti. The garlic was perfectly golden. The pasta was actually al dente, and my roommate asked for seconds, she exclaimed excitedly. Her brain was flooding with dopamine, making her eager to try more recipes. This is the honeymoon phase of learning. You're seeing progress, getting positive feedback, and your brain is rewarding you with feel-good chemicals. Everything seems possible. A month later, Mila hit what seemed like a wall. I can make decent pasta and basic dishes now, she said, but everything tastes kind of the same. I try more complex recipes, but they never turn out like the videos. This is the plateau, where most dreams go to die. The plateau is particularly tricky because your progress slows down just when your expectations are highest. The dopamine rush decreases. and suddenly the activity that was exciting becomes frustrating. Mila could have quit here. Many would. Instead, she did something different. She started focusing on understanding the principles behind cooking rather than just following recipes. She learned about flavor combinations, cooking techniques, and the science behind different ingredients. Today, she runs a successful meal prep business, creating her own recipes. But here's the interesting part. She still hits plateaus, just at higher levels. That's because true mastery is an endless journey. Here are the 5 game-changing meta-learning techniques that I was talking about. Let me share a true story that perfectly illustrates this principle. When my teenage cousin wanted to learn guitar, instead of spending months learning music theory and complex chords, he focused on learning just 4 chords that are used in 80% of popular songs. Within a month, he could play dozens of popular songs and even performed at his school event. The principle is simple. Identify the 20% of efforts that will give you 80% of the results. Here's how to apply it to any skill. First, ask yourself, what's the minimum I need to learn to get significant results? Look for patterns and commonalities in your chosen field. Focus on foundational skills that have multiple applications. Remember, explaining something to a friend and suddenly understanding it better yourself? That's not a coincidence. When I was learning photography, I started a small Instagram account where I'd explain basic concepts I was learning. The need to explain things clearly forced me to understand them deeply. Here's why teaching works so well. It forces you to organize information in your mind. You identify gaps in your understanding. The act of explaining reinforces your learning. You get immediate feedback through questions. Let me tell you about 2 friends who started learning meditation. Alex used meditation apps and read books. Maria used a brain-sensing headband that gave her real-time feedback about her focus levels. Guess who progressed faster? Maria, because she could immediately tell when her mind was wandering and adjust accordingly. Getting proper feedback is like having a GPS for your learning journey. Here's how to create effective feedback loops. Find mentors or experts who can guide you. Use technology tools that track your progress. Join communities of learners for peer feedback. Record yourself practicing and review the recordings. This is perhaps the most powerful technique, but also the most overlooked. Let me share a personal story. For years, I told myself, I'm not a technical person, whenever I faced coding challenges. Then I met a senior developer who told me something that changed everything. The only difference between a non-programmer and a programmer is that the programmer hasn't quit yet. Here's how to shift your identity. Start using language that reflects your desired identity. Celebrate small wins to build evidence for your new identity. Surround yourself with people who reinforce your new identity. Create environments that support your learning journey. Think about learning to swim. At first, you feel awkward, maybe even scared. Your movements are stiff, you swallow water, and you wonder if you'll ever get it. But that discomfort is exactly what leads to growth. But how to embrace productive discomfort? Recognize that feeling challenged is a sign of growth. Set slightly uncomfortable goals regularly. Document your progress to see how far you've come. Use discomfort as a compass pointing toward growth. Now, let me give you a practical framework to implement these techniques. Choose your skill. Be specific about what you want to learn. Set clear, measurable goals. Define your why. Make it personally meaningful. Apply the 80-20 rule. Research the most crucial components of the skill. Find experts who share their learning shortcuts. Create a focused learning plan. Set up your feedback system. Find a mentor or join a community. Use tools to track your progress. Schedule regular review sessions. Create your learning environment. Remove distractions. Set up your learning space. Gather necessary resources. Start teaching early. Share what you learn, even as a beginner. Start a blog or social media account about your journey. Find a study buddy or mentee. Remember, feeling like you're getting worse sometimes is actually the best sign you're growing. It's like cleaning a messy room. It often looks worse before it gets better. The question isn't whether these techniques work. They're based on solid neuroscience and proven results. The question is, are you ready to become a super learner? Here's my challenge to you. Pick one skill you've been wanting to learn and commit to applying these techniques for just 30 days. Share your commitment in the comments below, and let's grow together. Because here's the truth. The person who will benefit most from these techniques isn't watching another video right now. They're already applying what they learned from this one. What skill will you start learning differently today? If you found this approach to learning valuable, hit that subscribe button and join our community of super learners. Share this video with someone who's trying to learn something new. You might just change their life. And remember, the best time to start learning better was yesterday. The second best time is right now.